The base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a Friday. There's lots of things happening around the soccer world right now. Atlanta United heads down to Orlando for a match tomorrow night. Doug Robertson of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution will join us at 10:30 to preview that one. We've got other matches around MLS, around the USL Championship, around USL League One. We'll let you know what's going on the domestic front. We will let you know what's going on in Europe right now with Nations League underway. Big let-off for Germany yesterday with a late goal to Spain. That was a little shocking. More games today, Netherlands and Poland at 2:45 on ESPN+. But the big story this morning, we got an announcement that there would be an announcement, and there is an announcement, and there is a response to the announcement. That whole thing about Lionel Messi saying, well, I can't get out of Barcelona, so I guess I'll just hang around for a little while. Nah. Jorge Messi issued a statement this morning saying that, hey, La Liga, your statement about the $700 million clause, nuh-uh, and the being able to get out of the contract thing, nuh-uh, we don't believe that's the case. La Liga has already responded and said, you're taking it out of context. It is the case. So, yeah, he still wants to go. And that had appeared to have turned Wednesday night yesterday that maybe he would stay and see out the contract and then sign a pre-contract somewhere in January because he'd be in the last year of his contract. He doesn't want to stick around, and maybe one of the reasons he doesn't want to stick around is his good buddy, Luis Suarez, has agreed to terms with Juventus. He's got to get out of his contract at Barcelona to do that. Arturo Vidal will be getting out of his contract at Barcelona and leaving. The band is breaking up, but they want to keep the lead singer in Lionel Messi. Everybody else is leaving. He doesn't want to stick around. He wants to go solo. And this is where you're at. It's only going to continue because now we're getting the responses. Now we're getting the reactions to the statements. And look, this whole thing's going to be very, very complicated because in a normal year, you know, it's pretty cut and dried. There is a date. There is a set time, a certain period of time after the season. A date is set because you know when the season ends. And he has to notify the league, the team, whatever the process is, of his intention to end the contract now. Well, the season didn't end then. So it kept going, and he let them know within that period of time after this season ended. He thinks that's okay. La Liga is siding against it. But, of course, you got to remember this. La Liga would obviously side against Lionel Messi in this case because he wants to leave La Liga. La Liga needs Lionel Messi. So, of course, they're going to side with Barcelona. It's not a situation where he wants to go to Real Madrid or he wants to go to another club in La Liga, so then they might keep their mouth shut. No, they would lose him. Do you think Lionel Messi affects the ratings?
Slightly.
Do you think Lionel Messi might be somebody you'd like to have as you go to TV partners and say, yeah, we know our contract's coming up. Look at this little guy right here. He's pretty good. You need to pay up. You're not going to have that. You already lost Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, who are you going to put on the front of the advertising? That's La Liga's situation. Don't rule that out of this. Don't leave that out of the conversation. Domer's yelling about Kai Havertz in the Twitch pitch like, you know, that's a comparison here. I'm just kidding, Domer. I know you should be very excited. He has finally had his Chelsea medical. He left the German camp. It looks like that deal's about to get done. I mean, this is where we're at. Jorge Messi sent the letter out. I believe Lionel has issued some words on his Instagram, which are basically the same as the letter. La Liga has responded to Jorge Messi and say that you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. And that's where this stands. We will get plenty more as we go. Be very careful when you hear people talk about this one because it will seriously make your head hurt because you'll hear from very good sources, no, he's leaving. Then you'll hear from another very good source in 5 minutes, no, he's staying. And people are all jumping to the speculation. Like, I've got no comparison for this situation. It's not LeBron in the decision. It's far more complicated than that. It's nothing like any other transfer saga we've seen. Sam Lee, who writes for The Athletic in the UK, he covers Manchester City. This is what he tweeted 35 minutes ago. We're still in the situation where City will get Messi if he can leave Barca, and it still depends on whether he can leave Barca. But statement goes against the last 36 hours worth of rumors about Messi having a change of heart. He still wants to join City, and that's what Sam Lee tweeted. Long way to go. We think, of course, Messi and his camp can't officially say they want to go to Manchester City. They're under contract at Barcelona, even if they're trying to get out of it. That's what everybody is speculating because, where else could he go? It's really PSG or City, or he's going to have to take, no money and have to be able to get out of his deal for free to go to Italy. Because Juve or Inter, they don't have this kind of money to throw around. City and PSG, that's it. That's the two options. And PSG's been quieter. City obviously makes more sense. Pep, Sergio Aguero, a bunch of former Barcelona people in the higher-up positions with that club. It's what makes the most sense. But they can't afford a major transfer fee. And they can't negotiate right now anyway because there's nothing to negotiate. So this is where we go. Sean Vergara says, what are the chances he goes? Who do we follow? You got to follow a whole bunch of people to try to tie all of this together. Teise in Argentina is definitely getting inside information. There's just no way around that. They are, because they had it this morning that an announcement was coming before anybody else did. They had the news that he was sending the burofax before anybody else did. Teise in Argentina, Teise Sports, they're getting news from Messi's camp. There's just no way around that. Guillaume Balage for Sport in Barcelona is definitely one of the BBC as well. He does stuff in English and Spanish. He's very well connected. And he has stayed away generally from the hyperbole side of it. Teise will get pretty riled up about things. Guillaume will give you kind of the straight information that he's been able to confirm. Sam Lee on the Manchester City side is absolutely a quality follow. And another one that is kind of an aggregator is Football España. Their Twitter account is a good one. Their website's a good one because they'll kind of pull everything in and let you take a look and figure out what you think is accurate and not. So those are the ones I recommend. We'll keep you posted this morning as more comes because it will, now that you've had statements and statements about statements issued. There's going to have to be responses. There's going to have to be some follow-up here, and we'll see where it goes. One thing on Teise, just to keep this in mind, they did have the information coming from somewhere that he was thinking about staying, and that appears to be incorrect. So even the people who are getting information aren't always getting all of the information. That's what's so complicated about this whole thing. Domer's excited about the Premier League start. Schedule's going to be nuts, that's for sure. Either lots of rotation or a boatload of injuries for these clubs. ATL Leone says probably both, which I agree. It's going to be very weird to see all these games in a short period of time. For you guys who follow the Premier League closely, Monday night on Soccer Over There, we will have a 2-hour Premier League preview. That will be the entire focus of the show. We've got some special guests from a podcast called The Football Academy, some friends from the Brewhouse Cafe who will get us up to date on everything Premier League related. We'll be taking your questions live as well. 7 to 9, Soccer Over There, and it's on all of your usual channels. It'll be on Twitch, it'll be on the app, and everything else. So we'll get deep into the Premier League then. So, Domer, you got time to rest up. Question, and this came from Clayton Poss. Are we talking about the Barco news? Let me rephrase, Clayton. Are we talking about the Barco rumor? Because there's no news. There is a rumor, and it's the same rumor we talked about yesterday, that I have not been able to find a journalist attached to the Sevilla Ezequiel Barco rumor that popped up. Now, it's been followed up on, but everything goes back to the fan sites where it started. It's posted on a ES Noticias website, which appears to be a pretty generic news site that is not like a major publication. It's spreading, which is kind of strange because I'm not seeing anybody originate this. Does it mean that there's nothing to it? No, I don't know that yet either. But I don't know really where this one got started. So keep an eye on it because, I mean, he's generating interest in Europe. That's a known fact. That's not new. That's been going on before he came to Atlanta. It's continued during his time in Atlanta. It blew up a little bit more last summer after the U20 World Cup. There was talk this summer earlier, and Ezequiel Barco spoke to he spoke to Fox Sports Argentina. And he himself said that Fiorentina had reached out to his agents, and he mentioned Ligue 1 clubs. Later, there was a report out of France that Lyon was one of the Ligue 1 clubs. Sevilla had not come up until this. So that's where it is. Matt Wagner's yelling breaking news. Is there breaking news? Yes, there is breaking news. Wow. Hold on. We're going to do this right. Man, I wasn't ready for that one. Breaking news out of Harrison, New Jersey. The New York Red Bulls have parted ways with Chris Armas, effective immediately. Assistant coach C.J. Brown has also departed the club. An interim head coach will be named in the coming days. That's not good because they didn't say who said this or they didn't leave his first name. I believe he is the CEO, Thelwell. I'm going to read the response here. On behalf of the organization, I'd like to thank Chris for his hard work and dedication to the club, said Thelwell. In this business, we have to make difficult decisions based on performances and fundamentally results. At this time, it's my decision that we must go in a different direction in order to meet the ambitions we have for our football club. We wish Chris and CJ all the best in their future endeavors. We will conduct a wide, thorough search for our next head coach. Chris Armas ended up going 29, 21, and 11 overall. Made the playoffs both years. Came in the middle of 2018. They are 3-4-2 right now. Wow. I think this is harsh. That was my gut feeling when I saw this. I feel like this is harsh because, I mean, let's go back to 2018. And let me see if I can pull this up very quickly. 2018, he took over. And he took over middle of the season when Jesse Marsh left. He kept them on pace to win a Supporters' Shield. He didn't start the season, so he gets part of it. But he doesn't get all of it. You look at that roster, and we'll look at the players who started. Aaron Long's still there. Luis Robles was 33 at the time. He's in Miami now. I think that was the right decision to move on from him now. I think it's showing a little bit with him. Sean Davis, 30 starts. He's still there. Tim Parker, 29 starts. He's still there. Kaku came in that season, 29. He's still there. Bradley Wright Phillips, 20 goals, gone. Was it the right decision? Was it not the right decision? That's a tougher one. I thought it was at the time. Might have written BWP off a little bit too early. Kamar Lawrence, gone. Tyler Adams, gone. Daniel Royer, still there. Michael Murillo, gone. Shotkovsky has went from a half-season starter to a regular player here. Connor Lade, gone. Alex Muil, gone. Florian Villot, back from injuries. Derek Etienne, gone. That's everybody who started more than 9 games in 2018, a team that was very good. Now, 2019. This was a team that finished 12th overall in the overall table, 14-6-14. Just from that team, you know, you've lost players in Lawrence and Murillo, and Wheel as well, who started a number of games. You've went completely young. You know, let's look at 2020 at the moment. So, Kyle Duncan, 22 years old, promising young player. He's been good this season. Sean Davis is a stalwart of the club. He's your captain. He's become your new Dax McCarty. He's become that player for you. Christian Cáceres, I think, was looked at to be the Tyler Adams replacement, hashtag, and he's not. Daniel Royer has had to play everywhere this season. Royer's an excellent player. He's one of my favorite players in the league. Doesn't get a ton of attention. He's had to play so far out of position this year that it's hard for him to have a good season. Gaku, I don't know if he's been everything they hoped he would be. Not bad, but I don't think he's been what they hoped for. Velo's finally getting healthy. You've played Amro Tarek a lot this season because of injuries to Long and Parker, and Tarek's been good. Tim Parker's fallen off this year in a big way. I think Tarek might be the better starter with Aaron Long. You added Jason Pendant, a 22-year-old Frenchman, on the outside. I mean, you look at this roster, and there's just nothing that gets you excited. You've lost a bunch of players. You haven't reloaded, and you've relied on young players coming through. And that's the Red Bulls model in New York. It hasn't been quite good enough. So for Chris Armas to have a drop in talent with a team that's lost their captain in Luis Robles, BWP, Tyler Adams, Sasha Kleshin, Dax McCarty, Kamar Lawrence, Michael Murillo, and you're replacing them, and you're replacing them with Christian Cáceres, Kyle Duncan, Jason Pendant, Mark Shatkovsky. He's got 3 starts this year. You're not replacing them with anything close to like for likes. So I don't know where the idea of hiring Chris Armas for Atlanta is coming from. Guys, stop. That's craziness. And it's not a knock on Chris Armas. I think Chris Armas could end up being a good manager. I think some of the criticism of Chris Armas have been completely and utterly unfair. Chris Armas, as Burns says, Armas was Marsh's boy and Jesse was Rangnick's boy. Rangnick gone from Leipzig means no more protection for that group. Obviously, Jesse Marsh doesn't need it because he's broken out into his own. That's part of it, I would assume. I really want to see what direction they go here because I feel like they've made it clear that the New York club in Red Bull Soccer Empire is the lowest on the totem pole. Yeah. And there's only so much you can do with little talent. Whether you're Chris Armas, whether you're Jesse Marsh, whether you're Ralph Rangnick, if you don't have enough talent to compete, and that's the way I look at the Red Bulls team, you have to do one of two things. You have to ride out the results early while you develop these young guys, or you got to go get some more talent. I really, out of all the players they lost and the way that they play, I feel like expecting Cáceres to replace what Tyler Adams gave you is the biggest miss that team has had because they can't play the way that they want to play, and they're going to play without that position being filled correctly. So, it's a rough one. It is a rough one. Didn't expect that. Did not expect that. I'll be curious to see what Armas and C.J. Brown end up doing. Armas would probably really be well served to get out of the Red Bulls organization, go work somewhere else in an assistant role or in a USL role for a team that plays a different style so he can get a broader, I think, education in coaching. Because if he's been booted out of the Red Bull system, he's not coming back. Like, he's not going to go anywhere else in the Red Bull system. He's not going to go to Brazil. He's not going to go to Austria. So go get some more knowledge. Go to a different college, for example, here. Go to master's school somewhere else. Go get a master's degree in possession or something and go learn more and get there. I like Chris Armas as a personality. I like that he clapped back at some people this year when people were being very unfair towards him. I like the fire that he has. The results weren't there. I don't think they're all his fault, but somebody pays the price in those situations, and it's usually the manager.
The quote is attributed to Kevin Thelwell, head of sport for the Red Bulls.
Would have been nice if they had that in the release, because I didn't know Thelwell off the top of my head.
That's why I had
thought
to
he
go
went
looking
full
for that.
Brazilian.
And this weekend, it doesn't get any easier for Red Bulls. They've got a matchup against Philadelphia Sunday night, although right now they are the favorite. We'll see if that number changes in juice boxes as we go.
So, okay, now we've got another change in the Messigate saga. Teise is saying that Messi's going to stay. What? Okay. Let's see what Teise is saying about this one. So they say he will remain until June of 21 when his contract ends. Sorry, I don't want that ad. Thank you. Lionel Messi will continue when his contract ends. They're saying he's changed his mind. He doesn't want to be in the middle of a legal scandal with Barcelona. This is what they were saying yesterday. So why did his father send the message today that was published? Like, it wasn't imaginary. It happened. Yeah. What? I mean, they say in here in the middle, and this is translated, in the middle of this Friday morning, he had an initial communication from the Messi against what was previously stated by La Liga, talking about being unaware of the existence of the termination clause, saying that La Liga was being partial towards Barcelona here, which they absolutely are. There's no way around that. Trying to connect the dots here, because this is madness. See, and now this is very confusing because we're all catching like elements of this. And Teise had the release earlier today, and it was widely spread. Everybody had it, of Jorge Messi saying that they're pushing back on what La Liga said. Yesterday, and even late on Wednesday, the reports were that he was going to stay for the exact reasons that Teise is saying this morning, that he doesn't want to fight Barcelona. He doesn't want it to end badly. He wants to go, but if he can't go, he's not going to go to court to go. He doesn't want to bring shame on the club in that sort of way. Well, then you got the announcement this morning from his father. Then it's like, well, okay, he's going to go. Now they're saying he's going to stay. Was it just because La Liga, pushed back and he's not going to go fight it and he's just going to play his contract out? See, but now I wonder, okay, he says he's going to stay. Is this still posturing? Because if he stays and he plays his contract out, he's got 1 year on it. Right. He's not going to sign a new contract. He can leave for free at the end of the contract. He can sign a contract wherever he wants to go for next season in January in that window. So he could, in January, sign for Manchester City. Barcelona gets nothing, and that's it. So now that we have put the cards on the table, I feel like this is a game here. It really feels that way to me. So you push back, you try to get out. They say no. You say, okay, we're not going anywhere, but we're leaving at the end of the season. Yeah. Now does Barcelona come back and say, you know what? We understand that. We'll let you go now if we can find a transfer that is suitable for us so we get something out of it. Yeah. That's what I think could be the next step. Because there's really not much Messi can do at this point unless he wants to go to court. And it seems pretty clear that he doesn't. And he doesn't want to risk, even though he could go to FIFA, try to get out of the contract. They could provisionally let him out of the contract, but then it's going to be challenged in court. Nobody's going to touch him because they don't want to have that court case. He doesn't want to be responsible for paying the exit clause if it goes against him. He doesn't want to drag Barcelona through that. Even though he wants to leave, he respects the institution. He's got a family, wife. They're in Barcelona. They love Barcelona. That's all they've known, since Messi was 14. So there's a lot of that in it too. But I really wonder if now that he has said, okay, I will stay.
But
now, no, he didn't. There's no but. No. He said, I will stay. That's what Lionel Messi said.
Right.
Now I wonder if Barcelona says, since we can't get you to renew your contract to stay longer, we would be interested in a transfer.
Okay.
Because that's the next statement. There's no but. Messi didn't say a but, because that would then be showing too much. Barca will now come out, because this is what Balage said consistently. This is how it's been. Manchester City has not been able to negotiate because they have not known the game, the rules of the game, because they didn't know if he could get out for free. They didn't know if there was only a reserve clause. Barcelona hasn't said they would sell. They haven't known where to start. So you're smart. You're not going to come out and say, we'll offer this, we'll do this. No. Wait till the rules of engagement are established. Now I wonder if Barcelona says, okay, let's do a transfer to make everything right. That's what they should do.
Yeah.
We'll also see if Bartomeu goes to jail for corruption, which is again happening with all of this. The police of Catalonia have come back in the Barsigate story and said that he's guilty of corruption, or he could be guilty of corruption. So that's hanging over it. I think he goes, but I think it's going to be different than we thought it was in how he goes. I think it will be a transfer of some sort. Barcelona would be stupid to force him to stay. You're not going to get the best of him. They'd be stupid to let him go for a free at the end of it. They need to do this right, get what they can. If they really still think they can get Lautaro Martinez, which has still come up, they've got to have some resources to do it. If they want to add anything to this roster, they've got to bring in some resources. Even minimal, they've got to bring in something. So, and they don't want to pay him this year. His contract is huge. It's huge. Well, I'm sure there'll be more of this, more twists and turns today. I think the game is still continuing with the, this is what's going to happen over here. I see you with this. I think that's where we're at with Lionel Messi. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Chiefs coach Steve is in this morning. He says, stepping back, if someone somewhere is not writing a 5-part unfinished miniseries on Messigate, we need to make this happen.
Yeah, seriously. I'd love to see that one because, there's probably a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't know and we're not hearing that I'd love to hear more. So I am all in for that. I wonder if we will get that after the fact. When we get the Lionel Messi, maybe this is the last dance, I don't know. But when we get the Lionel Messi documentary after all of this, I'll be curious to see if he talks about it. He's becoming more open in talking about things as he gets later in his career, which is typical for a lot of players. He doesn't talk a lot, period. He doesn't talk a lot to his teammates. He's not, super outgoing, super close to people. He's a very private person, and, now that you get to this stage of your career, you're thinking about your legacy. You're thinking about how people are going to remember you. So you want to have a say in what gets said. So I think he'll speak more, and I'll be curious to see if he does speak on this. But his love for the club is real. Is he angry and frustrated and everything going on right now? Has it bothered him? Absolutely. It's bothered him for a while. But he also loves the club, and he doesn't want to hurt the club. He just wants to leave in the right way. And they're making that difficult. So that's what it is. Clayton Poss, we are not going 3 hours. It's not happening. Stop it. We would have to have...
we have more stuff tonight.
Yeah, I'm talking in general. We're not doing 3-hour shows unless we have things to give us breaks. And if people want to come and advertise on our show to give us longer breaks, then okay. But you guys don't want commercials. You guys want to hear the show. So that's what we're at. We haven't even gotten into the match tomorrow. I know. We do have, it's 30 minutes in. Settle down. We do have the run-up tonight at 7 o'clock where we will get only into Atlanta and Orlando. There will be no Messigate. There will be no MLS preview action. There will be none of that. It will only be Atlanta and Orlando. While Chara asks, as we transition a little bit, we'll keep you posted if anything else breaks on Messigate. Has Pitti been announced yet? What's the deal? He has not. I don't know what the deal is outside of what we've been told at this point. It's a little. It's tricky right now with transfers in general. A medical was mentioned by Darren Eales, and I don't know if he is going to have to go to Saudi Arabia to do that medical. It's very possible, although we've seen some clubs do things with, doctors they partner with and wherever the player is. We've seen that in the NFL, for example. So I don't know if that has changed. I've not seen anything about him arriving in Saudi Arabia just yet. I don't know if there's anything else to it. I mean, that's remember when Darren was with us, he said it was Abby. He didn't say specifically that Pitti was on his way to Saudi Arabia for the physical. He said that was one of the things that was preventing the deal from being finalized. He said it was a deal in principle at this point. Yeah, I'm double checking now just to see, and I have not seen anything about him popping up in Saudi Arabia just yet, and I think they would be talking about it. So nothing yet on that. It should get done. He was at the game Wednesday night because I think everything really happened Wednesday. If Stephen Glass and what he told us after the game is he was factoring Pitti into the match plan Tuesday night, I think everything got to this point Wednesday, so it was sudden. He was there. He spoke to the players. He spoke to the team. If he left yesterday, that's a long way to go. I still think we probably would have heard something by now, but I don't know flight plans. I don't know any of that right now. And I don't know if he could do the medical elsewhere, and it's just finalizing the paperwork and finalizing the payments and all those sorts of things. So it, should happen any time now. He's not playing for Atlanta this weekend. That is absolutely a fact. So right now that's where we're at, waiting to see if this deal gets done, when, and what the final pricing is if we get that. And we don't always get it. Sometimes we get it from the media, from people on the outside. I've heard it's more than $18 million, not a whole lot more, but more than $18 million. I think some of the other comments around this have been in the $20 million range, and maybe that's where it ends up settling into. So we're waiting to see what happens with it. Could be early next week, could be today, could be tomorrow, who knows. It's, by all accounts, still on. Nothing has fallen through with it. So that will affect Atlanta this weekend, just in terms of now you have been able to plan, at least for a couple days, without Pitti Martinez. You're not having major training sessions after a game and then before a game, so there's going to be more video work as you prepare for Orlando. There's going to be hopefully some set-piece work. That's something you can do without too much physical exertion, and set-piece defending was better on Wednesday night, but there's still room to grow there. You also need to be more dangerous on your own set pieces, which really has been, a backseat kind of thing right now. We'll come back to Atlanta and Orlando in just a minute. Let's run through the schedule this weekend in MLS quickly. It's a weird one where there's only 4 games on Saturday and 9 on Sunday. 8 on Sunday. I can't do math. What are you expecting from me? 4 on Saturday. Let's start with the other 8 o'clock game. Houston and Kansas City. They've got this thing as a toss-up on BetMGM.
Yep. In the aggregate, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, Houston is a plus 162, Sporting a plus 152, and your draw a plus 262.
Houston beat Sporting last time like a drum in Kansas City. Sorry, Adam, from 816. Kansas City gets a chance for some revenge. Houston is on, it's a little bit of a roll, but it's a roll at the moment. These games have been wild. Back on March 7th, Kansas City beat Houston 4-0. And then in the last one, it was 5-2 Houston in Kansas City. So watch this one be a scoreless draw, but maybe you want to look at the over on it.
Okay, so let's see what the totals are. What are you thinking other than goalless draw? What are you thinking?
Give me the over for 3.5.
Plus 145.
That one feels pretty good because I think that's a a good pick. What about 4.5 if I get really crazy?
Plus 336.
Yeah, throw a stinky juice box there. And yeah, I'm going to go with Houston. I think they're starting to figure some things out. So I tend to agree with Burned on this one, too. He thinks Houston is a tough matchup for Kansas City with their style. They were in the last one, and they weren't in the first one at the beginning of the season. But now Tab Ramos has had more time with this team. I think they're starting to figure it out. So, yeah, I'm leaning Houston on the win at home and a lot of goals, 4-2.
All right. Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go Houston, but not as many. I'll go 3-2 Houston.
Okay. Vancouver hosting Toronto, 9:30 Saturday night. Vancouver is a home dog in this one.
Check. Vancouver is a plus 532. Toronto is a minus 208, and the draw is a plus 341.
Vancouver hasn't scored a goal in 87 years. It feels like.
Yes,
they're not good. Toronto hasn't been great in beating Vancouver and Montreal a lot recently, although they didn't in the last one over Montreal. I still think they're good enough to get a win here. I just think it's an ugly game and like a 1-0 Toronto win. I think it's not going to be a fun one to watch, so you might want to skip it.
Yeah, so then let me ask you this. If Vancouver hasn't scored since Pierre Trudeau was prime minister, how much more time does Marc Dos Santos get?
I don't know. I mean, that's what's interesting is what have we seen this season? A manager who won 2 trophies last year, mutual consent, he's gone. You see a manager get fired this morning in Chris Armas, who was part of winning a trophy in 2018. He gets some credit for it. Made the playoffs both of his years. He's fired. The Red Bulls have been better than Vancouver. Frank de Boer was better than Vancouver. There's a lot of people who really like Marc Dos Santos. I haven't seen it in Vancouver at all. And that's, look, that roster's not great either. Don't get me wrong, but there's been no improvement. None. They are where, I think, honestly, they're a step back or two from where they were when he took over. So, no, he's got to be on the hot seat, but I don't know who's calling the shots in Vancouver anymore to make the seat hot. So I have no idea. He might end up just getting time because they don't want to make a move, and maybe he finds a way out of this. But he has not improved that team, and it just is what it is. It's not like he lost a bunch of people from year 1 to year 2, and it got worse. They just haven't improved, and you do have to start looking at him on that and say, what's going on here? As he's not getting the players he needs, and maybe he needs to walk. I don't know, but it's not getting any better for the Whitecaps, and I don't think it's going to get any better tonight. San Jose hosting Colorado. That is the nightcap on Saturday. San Jose is favored here over the Rapids.
Plus 114. Colorado is a plus 216, and your draw is plus 261.
Want to see how they bounce back after losing to a team that has always had their number in LAFC. Colorado is it's tough for them, I think, to play at San Jose's pace. So I agree with San Jose being the favorite here, but I'm looking at how they respond to getting spanked in midweek by LAFC. Are they going to come out angry? Or are they going to come out, tentative in some ways? They've got to come out all guns blazing in their normal way. If they don't, Colorado can beat them. I think Almeida will have it right, and they'll win like 3-1, kind of a weird back-and-forth game.
All right, so let's go with your 4 goals on the board here.
No, I'm not too worried about the over-under here. But go ahead.
Plus 143 at 3.5 and plus 335 at 4.5.
That's typical. Not going with that. All right. Let's get to Sunday's game. 7 o'clock, you've got 2. D.C. hosting New York City. D.C. is the home dog in this one.
D.C. plus 246, NYC plus 104, so almost even money on NYCFC, and your draws a plus 258.
Don't touch it. The numbers are no good for you. NYC wins. D.C.'s got so many people hurt, and they're not very good to begin with, so I wouldn't even touch this game. You're not getting a whole lot out of New York City winning it. So 2-0 to the Pigeons. Kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, just I don't think it'll be good television. So
Red Bulls hosting Philadelphia. Red Bulls are a fairly big favorite for a team that just fired their manager. The disrespect of the Philadelphia Union continues.
Yeah, and the line has shifted a little bit.
I want to see how it shifts before we get to kickoff tomorrow.
Yeah, since we got on the air, it was initially a plus 110 in the composite. It is now a plus 117, and Philadelphia is a plus 217. That has not changed. The draw.
Get on that Union number. Get on that Union number right now. If you got action to play, that's the one to play.
Punch it hard.
They're a big underdog against the team that just fired their manager. Come on now.
Yes.
I mean,
I do not get the. I mean, how long has Philadelphia been disrespected in all of our juice boxes? I mean, since at least MLS is back.
Yeah, it's very surprising. Jim Curtin said this about the Red Bulls match. He said this on Wednesday night after the loss to Columbus. He said about the Red Bulls, they'll certainly be angry. They'll be energized. They have a great coach. Not anymore. He'll have them motivated and ready to go. They're not at the point of the year where there's desperation or anything. They disagreed. But there's certainly going to be urgency from them and us as well. We're both coming off of losses. I think that tells you how this Chris Armas thing's a little surprising at this stage.
Yeah.
I don't think Jim Curtin's just saying that because he is a former teammate of Chris Armas. So let's keep that in mind here. But those are fair statements. I'm a little surprised the Red Bulls did this at this time. I'm a little surprised. I wonder if we'll hear more about the conversation behind the scenes on this one. It's a little surprising. But Philadelphia, jump on that number right now because that's a shock.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let me get back to where I was going.
7:30.
Thank you, John. Chicago hosting New England, and Chicago's favored by a decent bit. Both of these teams have been all over the map lately. New England's been fairly poor.
Chicago plus 134. The Revs are plus 189, and your draw option plus 250.
Run the other direction. I couldn't tell you what these two teams are going to do. Run the other direction. Chicago's at home. I mean, if you got to do it, lean on Chicago, but these two teams have no semblance of, consistency. Chicago will look good one game, then they'll look horrendous the next. New England, I feel like they should be better. They're the king of the draw lately, but it just hasn't clicked. Carlos Heel, without him, they're not the same team. So run the other direction on this one. Don't even get into it. Don't hurt yourself with it. 7:30 as well. Columbus and Cincinnati. Columbus is a massive favorite in this one.
Hell is Real has Columbus at a minus 217. Cincinnati an aggregate of plus 612, and your draw plus 334.
If you got that disgusting aloe cranberry juice box in the back of the fridge, throw it on Cincinnati just because they're capable of sitting back and locking it all up and scoring on a set piece. Do I think that happens in this one? If I had a good juice box, I wouldn't be putting it on Cincinnati. Columbus should win. They're at home. But they haven't been massively convincing lately. And yes, I said massively in Columbus. That was intentional. I don't know. Cincinnati has shown they can frustrate a team, so it wouldn't blow my mind if Cincinnati got something out of this, or maybe more likely a draw. Columbus should win, and they need to win to continue proving a point that they are a contender in the Eastern Conference. If they don't, because remember, they drew last time with Cincinnati, then I've got some questions. Yes, Jared_Smith, I do think aloe cranberry is disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't like cranberry, and that's just me. And I know people like cranberry. I get it. It's all good. I don't like cranberry, so I would bet that juice box. you can take whatever disgusting juice box that you feel like would do. And I don't like drinking aloe. I've tried it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I drink. Because there was this one water that I sampled that had aloe in it, and it just it made it gamey. There.
No, it didn't make it gamey, John. Like, stop doing that. Do you do it intentionally to say something that makes no sense? Gamey has nothing to do with that.
It's the first word that pops into my head.
Well, you need to study texture. Words. No, it's not gamey's
aloe
not texture.
And texture.
No, stop, John. Stop. We're not doing this like you always do. You take it off the rails for no good reason. We're not doing this. Gamey has nothing to do with texture. You are incorrect, sir. We're moving on. Minnesota, 8:00. Real Salt Lake. Minnesota is a fairly big favorite.
Minnesota plus 112. RSL's a plus 231, and your draw plus 252.
We'll see if Reynoso gets more minutes here. He came on last 20 or so in their last match. RSL is just fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting some more. I don't want to bet against them at this point.
I'm not touching it.
Yeah, if I had to, I'd go the draw. Is Kyle Beckerman still suspended, Kefsey asks. I think he is back now. They don't have it on the match preview, and I have not seen the match notes yet. I think he's back after his suspension from the MLS's back tournament. I think this is the first game for him back, if I remember correctly. I'll try to confirm for you, Kessie. Okay, 8:00 as well. Miami hosting Nashville, and Miami's a pretty big favorite.
Plus 120 in the composite. Nashville's a plus 227, and your draw's a plus 235.
So Nashville in their last two, they got a win at home, they got a draw at home. Miami got a draw on the road in their last one. Not going to lie, I'm impressed with what Nashville's doing.
Yeah.
No, I'm not in a I'm really impressed with what Nashville's doing. They know who they are. They don't have a number 9 right now. They are very good defensively. They are starting to pick their spots with more pressure. Something I noticed watching the Orlando match. When the opportunity presents itself, they will step up high and they will press. And with Alex Muil in that group now, you've got somebody who is very good on the press and has been drilled in it for years. So with Muil, with Mukhtar, with Leal, you've got a trio there that is very athletic, very scrappy. They're going to fight to knock a ball loose in the midfield. You've got Dax McCarty and Anibal Godoy to clean it up behind, which is a great pairing for this sort of game. You just need something up top. Dominic Badji is not the answer. Abu Danladi is not the answer. Daniel Rios, I think, could be the answer, but he's not necessarily the best fit for a pressing situation that Nashville's edging towards. Badji is, and that's why he's getting the starts right now. If they could go get a number 9, Nashville could be a bigger surprise. I think Nashville wins. That's my upset special of the weekend is Nashville going to Fort Lauderdale and winning.
Okay, I was going to say a draw just because of what Nashville's been able to do defensively and what we've seen from them all season long. And just the idea of travel, getting in, having a game, that kind of thing. That's why I pulled it back from a win to a draw. That's
fine. You take a draw. I'm going to take a Nashville win. Burned likes Mukhtar, says he's a nice player. I don't know if he's a designated player level player. I don't think he's far off from that, to be perfectly honest. And for a team like Nashville, it's not going to spend wild money on a designated player. Then he's a solid designated player signing. He's really good in tight spaces. And talking to people in Nashville, he's a perfect leader for that team because he's a star, but he's not the kind of star that doesn't fit into what Gary Smith wants. Gary Smith wants every player to work hard and sacrifice for the team, and Mukhtar's bought into that completely. So, yeah, he's the perfect signing for that group as their designated player, as their leader. he's a good fit. The late games on Sunday, Seattle and Portland. No fans in Cascadia. This time it's in Seattle. Seattle went to Portland and won last time. Portland's reeling a little bit, and they're a fairly large underdog.
Seattle is even money, plus 100 in the aggregate. Portland plus 243, and your draw plus 274.
Got to go Seattle here.
Yeah.
Portland's got to show that they're over the MLS's back hangover. They have not shown any of that just yet. LA Galaxy, LAFC is the latest game, 10:30 on Sunday night. Galaxy, home dog, another home dog this weekend.
Plus 243, and LAFC is a minus 112. Your draw is a plus 326.
Ooh. LAFC is really hard to call right now because they are very up and down. The Galaxy have been pretty good lately, at least on the sliding scale of LA Galaxy defense right now. So I would not touch this one. I don't have enough faith in LAFC, and I don't have enough faith in the LA Galaxy yet. I think it could be very entertaining for all of us to watch, but no, I am not touching it.
So then let me ask you this. Since you mentioned entertainment, what's a total you have in mind?
5.
Plus 272.
That's not bad.
For a 5, it's a plus 272. 4.5 is plus 165. 5.5 is plus 348.
Yeah, I'll go with that. If I'm picking anything out of that game, that's what I'll go with, is at least an over of 4.5. That's where I would go with it. Let us know what you think about the MLS games this weekend. This mini Galaxy resurgence has been interesting, according to Ricky Ricardo. Absolutely. And yes, I did whisper, Alex Pacine, that the Galaxy have been good lately because I don't trust it. I don't. I believe there were questions as we were talking about MLS that you guys wanted my thoughts on. Sean Vergara, please repeat the question so we can get there. If you guys have questions about Atlanta and Orlando, go ahead and start firing them off on Twitter at SoccerDownHere. Shoot us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail. Or you can join us on the Twitch pitch. And the question on the Twitch pitch is, who will lead Atlanta United in goals this season? Someone on the roster or not? Not someone who's not on the roster. It's going to be someone who's on the roster for sure because I don't think you're going to get anybody in super fast. If I had to pick right now, I think it'll be Kubo Torres because I think he'll get better, and I think he's going to have the most opportunities for goals. So I think it's going to be Kubo. That's my pick. I know that's not really much of a reach, but yes, that's my pick.
I had Ezequiel Barco. I was trying to process it through, and I went with Barco.
Okay, that's possible.
Taka is in this morning, and he says, what ambition at New York Red Bulls? Kaku is literally your only significant signing, in quotation marks. In the past 5 years, you sold or traded every great player you had. Armas isn't a magician. You have to have the ingredients to make a cake, exclamation point.
Yes. The difference, to try to defend the Red Bull organization as I sip on a watermelon Red Bull. The difference is they are expected to make the most out of the players they have. In New York, they are. I would say that in Salzburg, they are to a lesser extent because they'll go spend more. Leipzig's a whole different category. Red Bull Bragantino in Brazil, I think that's the idea, is to develop what they have and then move them up the Red Bull ladder. So you're judging it on the results, but I'll go back to and Bernd probably knows who this was more than I would. I believe it was the RB Leipzig sporting director when talking about players in the organization, and I think there had been 12 players who had come to Leipzig from Salzburg and only the one in Tyler Adams from New York, and did they see that changing anytime soon? And basically he was like, no. I don't. And I think some people took that as they don't put much importance on New York. I think you could also take it in that New York's not developing players that are suitable. And is that all on Chris Armas? No. But has he brought the young players in this team further yet? Kyle Duncan could be one. Could be. Sean Davis won't be. Caceres at 20 has not developed from when he was handed the keys last season. I don't think he's better. Looking at other young players who they've developed, I mean, Omer Fernandez, not close yet, not even to the Salzburg move. Brian White's 23 at this stage. You know, is he going to go to Europe? Probably not. Ben Mines, maybe, but he's only just now starting to break through. I have not understood, because Ben Mines is a talented player. I've liked him in USL Championship for a while now, and the times he's had little cameos, he's impressive. But it's been cameos. I mean, he is 19 years old now. He made his MLS debut, what year was it? In 2018 at 17. He started a game, I think, because of random injuries, and he scored. He's been a success at the lower division level, but he's got 4 games and 2 starts with the MLS team. What's the deal with that? Why is he not developed further? Matthias Jorgensen went there last year from Denmark. He hasn't really progressed. He's got 69 minutes under his belt this year. You know, the job is to develop guys for the next level, maybe as much as it is to win games in New York now for the Red Bulls. And you could say, looking at that Armas is not contributing in that. Tom Barlow's 24 now, and Tom Barlow hasn't made that next step. Is it going to change? Is there another crop coming? I don't know. John Tolkien and Drew Yearwood are young signings. They haven't played for the Red Bulls this season. I'm not sure. It's interesting. I wonder if that factors into it as much as the results. And if the results aren't good and you're not producing players, you don't have a future in the Red Bulls New York organization. If the results are good and you're not producing players, you're hanging on. If you're producing players and the results aren't good, I think you're more than hanging on, if you're looking at the scale of it for me. Burns says the only Red Bull Academy that works is Salzburg, 25 players from Salzburg to Leipzig. Never a single player from the Leipzig Academy made the first team. He said, yes, it was the sporting director who said that about the Salzburg and New York situation. He said right now there is no player good enough in New York. The academy is a different conversation, but the players right now that Chris Armas has had around him since he took over the job in the middle of 2018 haven't progressed. Caceres might be the biggest one there. He's a starter now. Is he going to go to Europe? He's 20. I don't know. And if you're looking at that and you're looking at these other guys and you say, look, they're not progressing, we got to make a move now because the results aren't good either. I don't know. I don't know what the thought process is. I'll be curious to see. They talked about results because the organization in New York can't really say it's about developing players for Salzburg, for Leipzig. They're not going to say that because then that makes them the minor league team. They have to put it on results. It's an interesting one. It's a different conversation than it is in Vancouver, for example. It was a different conversation than here in Atlanta because of the Red Bull Global situation.
Tafka asks, does Red Bulls being, quote, a link to Salzburg and Leipzig, end quote, make it the better destination, or is Atlanta United still the hotter job? I'm inclined to think the latter. Better exposure, better facilities, better support, better roster investment.
It's not even close. Atlanta's the better job. I mean, it's not even a conversation. I think when the hiring gets done, you're going to see probably, and this would be a good move, I think, by Red Bull Global to, and I don't know the coaching chain, if there is a top manager in the Salzburg Academy who has produced players, who is ready for a senior job, take him to New York. put him in charge there. That would be the kind of move I would expect there. You're not going to see a name go to New York to get into that unless there is somebody who just wants to become indoctrinated in the Red Bull situation, which I'm not buying that at this point. A name is probably what's going to end up in Atlanta. I think it's going to be like a Salzburg, a Leipzig Academy type of person in the chain who's going to come in, or it's going to be a John Wolynick who's coming up from Red Bulls too. I mean, but he's won at USL Championship. You know, I mean, he's a Red Bulls legend, but the Red Bulls organization, do they really put a whole lot of value on that? I don't know. I think it's far more likely for it to be a Salzburg Academy coach who wants a first-team job.
Rich Ransom is in this morning, and he says that he is listening to the NYCFC Nation podcast, and they floated the idea of when Messi arrives in New York City, the team should play 50% of their games at MetLife for the big crowds. And, well, this is a great idea. And Union over Red Bulls 3-1 this Sunday, #Messigate.
I don't have a problem with that. For big games, you absolutely could and should. I think that's something that a lot of MLS teams need to look at, is when you have an opportunity to draw a big house and you have a big stadium that you can rent, that financially it makes sense to do it. You know, you got to pick these games right. You can't go and rent the big stadium down the street and fill it with 25,000 and lose your shirt on the rental cost. I don't have a problem with it. I think San Jose doing this with Stanford is great, where they take the Cali Classico and play it in front of 50,000 fans at Stanford instead of playing it at Avaya. Very cool. But yes, if you're going to, and Ragamuffin points it out, which is accurate, if you're going to have NYC play some games at MetLife, you better make sure those are games that Messi's going to play, and you're probably going to have to manage your minutes at that point. We'll see how it goes. But, yeah, I don't have a problem with that idea at all. I think it's a good one. When you have that opportunity, you take full advantage.
Also on the board, a couple of things really quickly before we transition to hour number 2. Mm-hmm. The Colonel says cranberry's better with some salt in it. #Somos Atlanta. And Daniel Price has a weird thought. Could FDB go to the Red Bulls? He could produce young players.
He could. His coaching style is, I think the way he sees the game is a little too different, and I don't think he wants to get away from the way he sees it. I mean, he wants possession. He's an Ajax guy through and through. So Ajax has elements of pressing, don't get me wrong, but the Red Bull way is an extreme version of it. So, no, I don't think it fits.
Very quick breaking news sounder, please.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but okay.
Meaning it's just a couple of sentences.
Go ahead, breaking news.
From the Tampa Bay Rowdies, yesterday the St. Petersburg City Council approved a one-year extension to the lease at Al Lang Stadium. We are excited to return to the pitch for the 2021 USL Championship season.
No offense to the Rowdies, but okay.
So there you go. That's why I said it was very quick breaking news sounding.
Okay. Why don't you tell us about Steve Apolinski over in Decatur, GA?
I can certainly do that. Apolinski and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything. SDH and the Soccer Down Here Network, wrongful death and serious injury attorneys. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama. If this is a road that you have to have a consultation for, a couple different ways that you can do it by getting in touch with Steve. You can shoot him an email, steve@aa-legal.com. You can go to the website, aa-legal.com. When you hit the enter button or whatever button you use on your device of choice, a pop-up window pops up, and you can have a conversation 24/7, 365 and a quarter with an individual at the other end of that pop-up window, or you can get a free consultation by giving them a call at 404-377-9191. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine, top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia for wrongful death and serious injury matters. It is Apolinski and Associates, LLC. The website, aa-legal.com.
All righty. What else we have on the Twitters?
We are caught up on the Twitters, sir.
Wow. Okay. Let's see what's up on the Twitch pitch. What are you guys thinking about this weekend? What are you thinking about Atlanta and Orlando? What are you thinking about the rest of the MLS schedule? What are you thinking about Messigate? It's continuing on. No real moves since the double whammy of Jorge Messi, who I believe is at Barcelona's offices, or he's at the lawyer's offices, who used to work for Barcelona and now, I guess, work for the Messis, which is another twist in the saga.
Yes, I remember that too.
There's that one, and then that happened, and Jorge Messi issued the statement, and then it's coming out that Lionel Messi is going to stay, which had come out before, but now it's and there we go. Nothing updated in the last 30 minutes there. Ricky Ricardo shares an article from Axios about women's soccer, and I have not had a chance to read it yet. Kendall Baker writes it a big moment for women's soccer, and when you look at it this weekend, you got the fall series with the NWSL on CBS. You've got the FA Women's Super League on the NBCSN and on their digital properties. It's huge. It's tough for the NWSL to have this additional competition, and I hope they make the most of it. It's big for the Women's Super League to have U.S. interest with now more U.S. talent in the league, with Sam Mewis, with Rose Lavelle, with Manchester City. Apparently, it's going to get announced any time but before the match on Sunday, I think. Manchester United will be adding Tobin Heath and Kristen Press. So the FA Women's Super League, along with all the other players, a lot of them that you watched in the Women's World Cup last year, it's become a more compelling competition. So this is a big time for both, and it's a big time after the UEFA Women's Champions League games were on CBS All Access. It's a big time for women's pro club soccer, which maybe we've never seen before to this degree. We've had two leagues before the NWSL that got attention, especially the first one. Got a lot of attention, got a lot of big national attention. They didn't have the financial backing to make it work. The second one had a lot of soap opera issues in it. This one, the NWSL, started very slow, very modest, and is now starting to turn into something bigger. Still a challenge, though, because right now you're playing games in like showcase situations. These games don't matter. So how good is the level of play going to be? How intense is the level of play going to be? Those are the things that I'm worrying about. And if you're missing some players and there's not intensity in these matches, it's not going to be compelling to draw people back in. You're going to have to then really lean on the storytelling of up-and-coming young players, emerging young players, future national team players, those kinds of things to make it work, and we'll see if they can do that.
Yeah, and for me, I will be the first person to tell you that's part of my education for viewing a sport, for covering a sport, and for enjoying it are those storylines and the features and getting to know the individuals that will be a part of my viewing experience, my watching of a league kind of a thing. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that is pulled off by the NWSL. And, I'm just looking forward to seeing how this is presented. And I want to see the effort that is made to make sure that this goes off as well as it possibly can. But from a production perspective, from a TV perspective, I am looking at how they're going to tell those stories, hopefully, when it comes to their presentation. I want to see from a TV perspective how that's done.
Fourcard Ahmed talking about Atlanta, Orlando. I want to see the same starting lineup versus Orlando. I think we'll get a draw, at least a draw. I would change Bello for Castillo. I think Bello was rested for the Orlando game. I think he'll have a little bit better pace to run with Juan, which is going to be a huge challenge. Beyond that, it's just down to fitness. There's just questions about Kubo after playing 90. Can he turn around and start? Where's Barco? Where's Hindman? That's really it for me. But I would bring Bello in for Castillo. That would be the one. Not because Castillo played poorly. I still don't necessarily get the criticism that was flying around on Castillo. But I think Bello is the starter, and I think he was rested for this game.
Yeah.
Matt Wagner said, I meant to ask this the other day. I know Goose had a clean sheet and got man of the match Wednesday, but he seemed off to me lately. Simple mistakes that could have been bad. What are my thoughts on that? I thought he was off in the Orlando game for sure, and better against Miami, but there's been a few mistakes. The mistakes in possession, again, I don't have a problem with mistakes when you're playing out of the back. I don't have a problem with isolated mistakes. I have a problem with consistent mistakes, and we haven't seen that yet. I think Gazan, since the restart after MLS is back, has had more mistakes in possession. Not to the point that's alarming yet, but yes, I thought the Junior Urso header he could have done better with. That's a mistake. That's a whole separate area. I've been a little concerned, but I thought Wednesday was a good bounce back, and let's see if that can continue. The man of the match voting, I mean, it's voting, so it was fan voting. That's how he got the man of the match in that one. Like I said, I would have given it to Anton Walks, but Brad was good. He was much better than he was on Saturday, and I hope that will continue. I think it needs to for the team to get to where they want. Uncle No Pockets is going 2-0 Orlando in this one. All the negativity. Here we go. Let's do it. Pacine says if Orlando beats us on Saturday, they will have more wins against us than we have against Red Bull. Shoot me. I mean, if we're going to start making up like random crazy comparisons, sure, but don't shoot Pacine, please. Don't make that happen.
Yeah. No.
I'm with Four Card. I don't want to see an unmotivated Lionel Messi playing for Barcelona. # free Messi. I'm with this. Yeah. I support it. That'd be good for Barcelona, too. And Uncle did not just say Orlando. He said Orlandville was what he said.
Tafka says, on the Messi controversies, there's most people, and then there's me. I love Messi, but just tell me when it's over with a winking emoji.
Nah, man. This is big time. This is bigger than that. This is pretty massive. And there's going to be more twists and turns. It's not done yet. Sorry. Walchara, Joseph seems angry in training. I thought he seemed angry all the time, especially when there's soccer involved. So, and that's a good thing. That's what we love about Joseph. So I don't think there's anything weird about that. Martha, when can we expect Torres to be match fit and in the starting 11? He was. Maybe there's something not here that I'm misunderstanding. I wonder if he's going to be able to go again 90 minutes, but he went 90. He wasn't fully sharp in the match. I thought he struggled, especially when Atlanta had to play long. He wasn't able to control and relieve some pressure there, and had some giveaways that were bad and gave Miami more opportunities. That's not going to be able to happen against Orlando. But I think fitness-wise, he's over the hump. Now, everybody's going to have tired issues right now with playing Wednesday, 2 days off, Saturday, 3 days off, Wednesday, 2 days off, Saturday. You're going to see rotation because of that more than match fitness at this point. I do have questions about Barco and Heineman total match fitness because we haven't seen them go 90 in quite a while. But Kubo maybe has graduated out of that group. And Jurgen Damm won't be in the starting group just yet, but he's edging up higher in the minutes. I think he's probably due for like a 30 or 45-minute appearance before he gets into the starting group, potentially. Byrne says, isn't it unlucky that we are on Big Fox tomorrow? Everybody gets to see us temporarily dysfunctional. Yeah, it happens. Look, the national audience has a hate-watching experience at times with Atlanta United when Atlanta's good or bad. So be curious to see what the rating is on this one. It happens with top teams when they have these blips and when they have these moments. In some ways, it gets more people interested and more people watching because it's like, how do they get out of this? How do they fix it? How much worse can it get? All the different things.
Yeah.
Not ideal. Abby says, talking about the flag giveaway, this weekend, this is the update. There's no flag giveaway, but if you spend $100 at the Atlanta United team store, You get 20% off through Labor Day, and then starting Tuesday, September 8th through September 13th, it's 20% off short-sleeve shirts. There's your inside info on the Atlanta United team store.
We like inside info.
Yes. Katie Weaver, I like RJF, resting Joseph face. That is awesome. That needs to be a shirt. Wow, Chara, really don't like all these Atlanta national telecasts. Atlanta is unwatchable as a neutral. You know, I'll go ahead and start to push back on this. And I go ahead and yell at me. That's fine. I understand. It's all good. I've seen unwatchable soccer in my day.
Yeah.
Atlanta United against Miami was far from unwatchable soccer. I can just disagree. Unwatchable soccer to me is boot, 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 kick somebody, boot, 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 nothing. Both teams were trying to play in large segments, and the game had a pace to it, especially in the first half, which a lot of people hated too. Was it resulting in chances? No, not enough on either side. But it wasn't bad soccer. Bad soccer is when neither team can complete a pass, in my book. That wasn't happening here. Miami was sitting back more, trying to play on the counter. Atlanta had control but wasn't threatening. It needs to be better. But I don't think it's unwatchable. That's just me. But I enjoy the interplay in the midfield. I enjoy possession. I enjoy a team that plays that way. And you know, people criticize Barcelona when they had moments, and they've had moments in the 12 years. I mean, you can go back to the Frank Rijkaard era, where possession has always been the key at Barcelona. But they've had moments, even with Messi on the field or when he's been out injured or whatever, where they were not threatening, and it was possession, and it was possession, and it was possession, and it didn't lead to anything. And teams sat back against them and just made it difficult, and it was what we've seen. And people said it was awful, unwatchable soccer. I disagree. Awful, unwatchable soccer to me is like second, third division, fourth division, England, where you're not wanting any possession and it's just kick it back and forth for 90 minutes. That's unwatchable to me. But that's the preferences in what kind of soccer you like. I'd rather see a team that wants the ball and is trying to build to something, even if they're not building to something. They need to start building to something. But it's watchable in seeing them try to build to something.
Yeah, I mean, for me, unwatchable was Mastroeni when he was in MLS a couple of seasons ago. Unwatchable for me is lower division stuff like you. What was there at Mercedes-Benz the other night wasn't unwatchable for me because really the only thing that made it stop-starty for me was the fouling by Miami, because there's that level of anticipation that something's going to happen, foul. It's the level of something's going to happen, foul. And so that stop-start for me was frustrating, but it didn't make it unwatchable, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but that's I don't think that's the point, though. It's not about the fouling that I think people are saying it's unwatchable. It's the lack of chances. I would rather see the chances come from good soccer that gets there, and I think possession is good soccer, as opposed to just trying to kick it back and forth and maybe you fall on a loose ball and then a chance creates itself. That's not good soccer to me. Can it be entertaining at times? Sure. But it doesn't mean it's good. And I'm looking at good as much as just pure entertainment. But again, this is all personal preference and what kind of soccer you like. There's plenty of people who watch La Liga and think it's boring. And there's people who are enthralled by it. Then there's people who look at England and say that it's not good, it's not quality, I don't care. But it's fast-paced. So it's all different styles. Burned asks, do you think the Women's Super League will overtake the NWSL here in the U.S. in terms of viewership? That's a really good question. I do wonder, because this is where I've always felt that the European clubs have a huge advantage, because they're able to lean on the badge and get people interested. If you're a Barcelona fan, watching Barcelona's women. If you're a Manchester United fan, you might watch their women's team now. How valuable is that versus what we've seen in the United States, where you're building separate brands for the women's teams? I don't know. We haven't really seen it play out, so I'm not sure. I I'm really fascinated to see that. I mean, you're also, you got to remember, you're going to be comparing CBS, big CBS, to NBCSN. So you're dealing with very different audience sizes potentially. So the ratings are not going to be directly comparable. But the Women's Super League, I think, is banking on getting a lot of attention. And we'll see if they get it. I want to see how much NBC promotes it. Because if they do and their promotion works, they have the potential to outdraw the NWSL.
Yeah, and with what we discussed earlier in the week about ratings taking outside of home, I want to see what it looks like on streaming devices. I want to see what the web numbers are in addition to all of this. So it's not just the picture for me when it comes to what it is over the air. I want to see what the younger demos are doing when they're trying to look at the product as well to add to that whole picture.
Next up, Walchara says, there's a lot of talk about moving on from Kazan after this season. Thoughts? They just signed him to an extension. He's under contract through 23. That went down in February, so I'm not buying it. You've got a number of goalkeepers that can push for time, though. Alec Can has been good here in the moments he's had to be playing, and it hasn't been very many since Brad Kazan came in, but he was good in the first half of the 2017 season. When he's played, he's been good. Is he a starter in MLS? I don't know. He hasn't really had that opportunity in his career. He's still young enough to be that. Brendan Moore, we haven't seen a ton, so I don't know really where he is in terms of challenging Brad Kazan. Ben Lundgaard, I think, came into Atlanta United, too, with an eye on becoming a Brad Kazan competitor, potentially. And there's been moments for him that have been very good in USL Championship. There's been some moments where I've been a little surprised. He's still got room to grow, and he's still really young as a professional. You've got Vicente Reyes, who played on Wednesday, who is extremely young, Chilean youth international in your academy, who could be one for the long-term future. I don't think he's challenging Brad anytime soon. Justin Garces at UCLA, you could sign him to a homegrown deal, and he's looked at as one of the top young goalkeepers in the country. He's an interesting one to keep an eye on, but I don't think anybody's taken that number one spot in the next year. I think it's maybe after 21 that, okay, there could be some challenges to that spot. I think Brad is still one of the better goalkeepers in this league. We've seen a couple of slips here lately. I'm expecting we'll see more of the Brad Kazan that last year was one of the top goalkeepers in the league. But got to get back to that level. Wednesday was a good step in the right direction. You want the consistency.
Gustavo is in this morning.
What's up, Gustavo?
He says that regarding PT's transfer and Barco news, he says, I wouldn't be a fan of Atlanta United if it weren't for their promise of style of play provided by Tata with the front office. That's the attraction. And if not, what is different about Orlando and Miami? They will all be mock-ups of small teams. Funless. And then Shiva adds, that's why the next coaching hire is a crucial turning point for this club.
Here's the interesting thing to me. When you look at, and maybe it's because I've been digging back into studying Barcelona a little bit with all of the Lionel Messi stuff. And we've got Doug Robertson from the AJC joining us in about 5 minutes to talk specifically Atlanta-Orlando. So Atlanta's in an interesting spot because I think they want to be Barcelona-esque in what Gustavo's saying, that it is style above everything. If you come in as a player and you don't fit the Barcelona style, you're not going to stay at Barcelona. If you don't buy into the Barcelona style, you're not going to make it. If you come in as a manager and want to change the style, well, you wouldn't have got hired in the first place. Style is everything. So there are players who are amazing players. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, not a Barca player. Great player, not a Barca player. Contrast that with Real Madrid. Style, winning, everything. Best players in the world, everything. They will go spend and get the best players, and they'll make a style out of it. Barca has a style. They're always going to have that style. That's not going to change. That's why I think Xavi will end up there after Ronald Koeman's time is up, which might be a year, depending on how the presidential elections go. Might be a little longer. Who knows? Xavi will come in because he gets the style. The style's everything there. I think Atlanta's somewhere in between. And that's hard to be because you have a consistent style, but you can go get not anybody you want, but a lot of people you want, period. But you've got to get people that fit the style. Now, the style is more durable than Barcelona's style. Barcelona's style is very specific, and that means more people don't fit into the style. I think Atlanta is still developing the style, so it's broader. It's attacking. It's speed. It's players who are fast. It's fluid. It could be in a 3-5-2. It could be in a 4-3-3. It could be in a lot of different things. So, what does Atlanta United, which road do they go down? I don't think you're going to be a true Real Madrid because you have Miami, who I think will be more of that, which isn't a surprise, honestly, with Beckham there because that was his experience, both at Manchester United to a lesser extent, at his time there anyway. But that was his experience at Real Madrid. It was the Galacticos. You went out and you go get the best players, and you get a manager who can make something out of it. Miami's going to spend crazy money. We've seen the LA teams do it, although the Galaxy have been far more Real Madrid, if we're just going the Real Madrid-Barcelona comparison. The Galaxy have been that because, what do you think of with style with the Galaxy? I don't know. What do you think of when you think of the Galaxy? David Beckham, Robbie Keane, big names, big superstars, Zlatan, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think of with LAFC? More style. Bob Bradley's been more of the Barcelona to counter their Real Madrid. What is Atlanta? Somewhere in between. There's a style to it, and I think there will be a style, and I think it will continue to develop. We've talked to Stephen Glass about this. We've talked to Tony Annan about this. This is something that takes hold below the first team. Control. Players who are committed, who earn it. Those kinds of things that are, hard to quantify. But controlling matches, whether that's strictly with possession or not, and they've left that door a little open. Controlling matches, attacking, trying to entertain, speed. Speed has been a number one thing here. They want to play fast. They want players who can play fast. They want players who are fast. So those are elements that I think you lean back to in terms of your recruitment on both sides of the managerial hire, but also your future players and also the players you're developing. Because I do think over the next couple of years, we're going to see more of that. And that is another Barcelona thing, where it's something that I think in the Take the Ball, Pass the Ball documentary, Xavi mentioned it, multiple people have mentioned it. It's easier for a kid, an 18, 19-year-old that comes through Barcelona's academy, and maybe not right now because it's having some down times, but in general, to know the Barcelona way, you had to live it. You had to come through it. You get it. It's natural to you. Some of the different concepts, some of the different ideas, they're comfortable to you. But if you are a great player who comes to Barcelona and you've been brought up in a different school, you might not ever get it. You might only get it to a certain degree. You might have to really work hard to get it. Thierry Henry is a prime example. I mean, Thierry Henry is one of the best players of all time. We all know this. But he struggled at Barcelona at first because it's like they were literally speaking a different soccer language than what he was used to. And he had to embrace it. And he did, and he made it work, and he was a great fit for what Pep Guardiola wanted to do. But it took time to get there. So that's a very long-winded way to say I think Atlanta's style is still being developed, and I think it will be a very important determinant in who is hired to coach, who is signed as players going forward, and I think maybe more importantly, how players are developed in the academy, and that will keep people coming back, and that will keep things growing. But it's a style that's not as rigid as Barcelona either, so it can get off track maybe at times because of that, because it's not as rigid. But that also opens up more doors to more players and more coaches that can make it work, which can be very good because sometimes the Barcelona style can be too rigid. That's where you're at. So that's a very long-winded answer to Gustavo, but he provokes those sometimes.
Yes, and it's cool to go places where you can let things breathe a little bit when it comes to a topic and talk it through. And that's why I like it when people can bring this kind of stuff to the table.
All right, Doug Robertson will be joining us here in just a moment to talk Atlanta and Orlando. John will probably go all squishy face and disappear for a second and maybe reappear, and hopefully he does and we don't lose him. And hopefully we get Doug on the other line and talk a little Atlanta and Orlando as I'm talking through where a producer would be handling things.
Maybe he's on the golf course.
What's up, Doug? How are you?
I'm fine. How are y'all?
Good. Getting ready for Atlanta and Orlando. You got any final thoughts on Atlanta and Miami, or do you just want to skip it?
This is a team that needs to make some formational changes and some personnel changes because it hasn't worked all season, and it's really not working right now.
All right. Well, then before we get into the matchup this weekend, let me go with the breaking news from this morning. Chris Armas no longer head coach at Red Bulls. What do you think?
It's a franchise that I'm not quite sure what it's doing anymore. It had an identity. It had a style of play. It had a model that seemed to be working. And then it kind of stopped, I think, following that model. I don't know what they expect of Chris Armas. They spend no money or they haven't in the past, I think, 2 seasons, on talent. They keep wanting to play kids and develop kids, which is fine, except you have to understand that you're not going to win every game. I thought that, for what he was being asked to do, he did fine. And so I was a little shocked this morning that he was let go. We all assumed, or I assumed anyway, we talked last week, Ben Olsen would be the next to go. But they pulled out 3 points in the 8th minute of stoppage time to get a win. So that might have saved his job. I don't know. But that's the first one I thought would go.
Yeah, maybe that game was a loser leaves town match or something. It kind of felt like. And DC got the late goal to save Ben Olsen's job. Who knows? You look at Orlando, and they went to Nashville and got a 1-1 draw. They scored first. Nashville got an equalizer in the second half. How do you feel about the Lions coming into this game?
I think they are going to be gung-ho and ready to really try to beat down Atlanta United as much as they possibly can. Playing at home, there's going to be fans in the stadium. I just taped a Southern Fried Soccer podcast with Julia Poe, who covers Orlando City for the Orlando Sentinel, and she referenced that, Orlando City's players are ready to, if they can, really pour it on Atlanta United. They didn't start a couple of starters like at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and still it was a comfortable win for them. I think those guys are going to start on Saturday, and if Atlanta United plays like it has been playing, this could get bad.
Well, and Doug, it makes sense from the Orlando point of view, where you get the result and you get that 0 turned into a 1, and you sit there and you're sensing something. You're sensing change, and you want to capitalize on that if you're Orlando City. So I completely understand that from Julia's point of view. Yeah,
Orlando is playing well. I know it probably. Well, I would assume it regrets dropping points against Nashville, but it still got a point, still created chances. And that's just something that Atlanta United is not doing. It would be shocking for it to suddenly turn around. Maybe one game, but not consistently.
What is it about Orlando that you think will give Atlanta the most problems? Is it the wide play? Is it the central midfielders? Is it the defense? What do you think is going to be potentially what hurts Atlanta the most?
Yes. All of those things.
Yeah, choice D.
You start with set pieces. Orlando City scored 1 goal against Atlanta United on a set piece. Probably should have had 2 more. Open players missed one-on-one opportunities. Inter Miami should have scored at least 1 goal on Atlanta United off a set piece. So that's the first thing they got to get short of, because you can't give away goals in that regard. Atlanta United has to deal with Orlando City's press, which I think is going to be very aggressive because they're at home. on a smaller field than Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Or Atlanta United is going to have to figure out a way to try to keep Chris Mueller, Benji Michel, or Michael, I can't remember how you pronounce his last name, and Nani from working those channels in between the touch lines and the fullbacks and the center backs. All these things are issues that Atlanta United really hasn't consistently shown that it can handle. And again, the probability indicates it wouldn't happen now.
Well, and then, you mentioned a couple of names there for Orlando City. Then you have someone who's been hot recently in Daryl Dike. Daryl Dike is that larger presence up front, and I think that he presents a big of a challenge as well for Anton Walks, Miles Robinson there as your center backs, as he wants to try to get things done at the top of the box and get shots in the area too.
Yeah, no, he's a handful. He's playing like a veteran. I was telling Julia, he reminds me a little bit of Giazzi Zardes with his hold-up play. I don't know if he's as athletic as Zardes, but I think he makes good passes from his hold-up play, and he could score. He's shown that as well. He's going to be a handful if he starts, and I assume he's going to start on Saturday.
Had a little bit of time to digest the Pity Martinez news from Wednesday. The deal hasn't gone final yet, but what do you think looking back at it now?
I tweeted this, and I think we talked about this. Sometimes players just don't fit on certain teams. They can be quality players, and it just doesn't work. It's happened, with every pro sports team around the world at times. I go back to watching Pitti in exhibition games before the 2019 season, even watching him in that first game in Costa Rica against Herediano. And I wonder to myself, I don't understand how he fits within what they're trying to do. People would get mad at me at the beginning of last season when I would say, Pitty's not hustling on defense, or why is he taking this extremely low percentage shot or this extremely low percentage pass? But it just never stopped. It stopped for a little bit in the last third of the season. He kind of reined it in some, but then it kind of started coming back a little bit this year. And it didn't work well within it, whatever system Atlanta United is trying to play. I think he's a quality player. I don't rate him as highly as other people do. So I think that this is going to be a blessing for him to go to Saudi Arabia, and it's definitely a blessing for Atlanta United because it's going to turn a profit, and it can turn the page and try to find a player that maybe fits a little bit better into what it is they want to be.
Well, and, Doug, you mentioned it about the front office, where the front office for the second time in not just the European theater, but now the world theater has brought in talent, had that talent for a couple of seasons, and then able to move it along and in this case, by all reports, it's going to be a profit. And so I think that, once again, it speaks for what Atlanta United has been able to do in the last handful of years, with Miguel Almiron going to Newcastle, PT now, a medical away from going to Al Nassr. I mean, I think that it speaks to where Atlanta United is in the world theater now when it comes to the sport.
I don't think this is anything like Almiron. The sell of Almiron. I mean, Atlanta United under Gerardo Martino developed Almiron, or didn't develop, but helped him develop into a much, much better player, which is why they were able to sell him for 3 times what they purchased him for. This, to me, was a gift to Atlanta United, a club in Saudi Arabia that obviously isn't feeling an economic recession, that was able to splash cash so Atlanta United could turn a profit on a player that frankly hasn't been nearly as impactful as Miguel Almiron was for the Five Stripes. To me, this was more lucky than anything else. I guess you could say it reflects well on Atlanta United. You make your own luck, some would argue. But to me, this was much more of a gift than anything else.
Oh, we'll see what the final numbers end up coming in on that. Looks like it'll be a profit, and looks like it'll give the team an opportunity to go out into a market that could be really, really interesting with a designated player spot open.
It's a suppressed market. I mean, Atlanta United is going to be able to buy low, which is a fantastic advantage. So if they can go and find another Almiron or something, a player that they can develop, then that's fantastic for them. And they can get another shot at this because they have done fairly well. I mean, the front office has done great with the buying and the selling of players, just from a financial standpoint.
And you mentioned that, and I know that there were some folks that were thinking that because of this deal and the perception that Pity Martinez did not work out at Atlanta United, that the pipeline to South America dries up at this point because of Pity Martinez moving on. I don't view that as the case. I actually view that the other way, that folks will continue to see players like Almiron and Pity come to Atlanta United and continue to go to that next stop. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't understand the logic of that South American pipeline thing. I mean, it's not like they signed Pity Martinez and then left him on the bench for most of the past 2 seasons. He was given every opportunity to succeed and to help the team succeed, and did win 2 trophies, which is important. It needs to be pointed out, and did have a couple of fantastic games. He had 1 multi-goal game, 1 multi-assist game, but I think everyone was expecting a little bit more. People blame Frank de Boer for all this, and that's just silly in my opinion too. No, I don't think anything is going to dry up. I mean, money talks. If you offer a player a good salary, offer a South American club a good transfer fee, you get a chance to play in front of 70,000 people at a fantastic stadium, at a fantastic training center, and a developing league. That's what the players are looking for.
Yeah, the commentary out of South America about the Pity Martinez news of the transfer has been in no way negative about Atlanta or MLS. It's been the complete and exact opposite. It's a big deal. It's a huge story, and it would be a bigger story if there wasn't another number 10 that's involved in a hashtag gate right now with Lionel Messi. But it's getting talked about a good bit in a very positive way for Atlanta United, a positive way for Pity as well. So, okay, we'll see what happens with that deal when it gets done. Let's get into the particulars of Atlanta-Orlando. We got to make some predictions, and this is a really hard one to call. Doug, I'm a little concerned you're going to pick a number maybe you've never picked before in an Atlanta preview game here. How big of a margin are you picking Orlando by?
I still don't know the standings.
We have no idea. We're all flying blind these days.
No, I'm not going to pick too big of a number because I do think Atlanta United does have quality. It just can't figure out how to use that quality right now. I think Orlando City wins 2-0.
2-0 Orlando. That's what Nick Alifi's got. Jarrett Smith had 2-1. What do you have, John?
I'll go 1-1 draw. I think that Orlando City gets one off a set piece, and I think that Kubo Torres gets one for Atlanta United. So 1-1 draw.
Yeah, that's where my head's at, too. And I'm definitely drinking it's watermelon Red Bull. It would be Kool-Aid to try to find that 1-1 draw. I think we're getting to a point in the season where these heavy legs are going to make these games really weird and strange, and you're going to have breakdowns from teams that are even playing well. Results are hard to call in this league to begin with. I think this is going to be another one of those just weird, sloppy games. Let me ask you this one, Doug, before we go. So 2-0 Orlando. Who is the player who wins it for Orlando? Who's their man of the match in your mind?
That's a good question. Pereira, I think. I think he's going to pull the strings and really punish, or could punish Atlanta United. I think I tweeted out my predicted 11. I think you're going to see a formation change. I think you've got to see a formation change from Atlanta United. 2 strikers up top. Stephen Glass kind of referenced this a little bit earlier this week with Kubo Torres. Just because it's not working. I mean, I don't know if y'all saw the passing map from this previous game. But when Atlanta United got near the 35-yard line, there was just absolutely nothing happening. Nothing happened. And you've got to make a change because you can't just keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. It's nuts.
We'll see what changes we get. What else do you have coming up over at the AJC today and tomorrow?
Well, we're getting to talk to Stephen Glass, who I found to be, a very engaging interview. I think he's been as honest as he can be with regard to the strengths and weaknesses of the team. I don't agree with some of the things he said, but that's, I'm not the manager. I appreciate his honesty with everything. So we're talking to him, we're talking to Emerson Hyman, and we're talking to George Bello, who I think is going to start on Saturday against Orlando City. So I'm curious to see what they're going to have to say about this game and curious to see the injury report for this team for this game.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Southern Fried Soccer tomorrow evening, or did you want to do it on Sunday after this one?
Whatever's convenient for you.
Okay.
I can make it work either way.
Once I know what our broadcast situation is, we're on the radio, we're calling it. I just don't know necessarily from where just yet. Welcome to coronavirus land. I'll give you a heads up, and we'll figure that out.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for the time, Doug. Appreciate it.
Doug.
Doug Robertson, AJC on Twitter, Atlanta United News Now on Facebook. Make sure you are following him. I feel like we need like a pick-me-up after that. I want to go back to sleep now and not watch this game tomorrow. I feel very sad. I don't know what else to say.
I'm fired up. It's intrigue for me about how teams handle schedule compression and looking at roster depth and looking at standings. And for me, my head's going to be on a swivel all day tomorrow. Bunch of different leagues going on, but I'll be locked in and looking forward to it. For those on the Twitch pitch, they see my hands rubbing together. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll probably have about 9 different devices fired up as to what I'm watching.
The game's only on one channel, John. Why would you have 9 devices fired up for
other
this game?
Games and other places and other leagues? I'm all over the place. The main one will have the match on it, but I'll have other secondary, tertiary, and I don't know what the fourth one is, but I'll have a bunch of other things going on.
You should probably pay more attention to the Atlanta game because we're going to be talking about it.
Like I said, it'll be on the biggest screen. I'm just saying I'll have other things on around, like when they go to halftime, I'll go look at another match like I was doing
changing the channel
the other day. One device to my right, one device to my left, one device in front of me. I'm all over.
John will have nothing for us on Monday is what he's telling us. He's clapping about games which has nothing to do with anything. I don't know. John's lost me completely. It's nothing new, but anyway. Apparently, and this is coming from Guillaume Balage, and I retweeted it, in 20 minutes we will finally hear the resolution of the Messi case, and that would be at 11 o'clock. What? What now? Yeah.
What's Tay-Say? How many boxes does Tay-Say have up?
They just have the one, but they're talking to somebody in Barcelona at the moment who is a journalist for La Sexta, Josep Soldado, talking about Messi deciding to stay through the end of the upcoming season. I don't know. I don't know what the next twist in the saga could be. We'll find out. Fabrizio Romano, who is a very well-respected source, says that Lionel Messi is going to make it official, and that would be the announcement at 11 o'clock. He's going to stay at Barcelona for the next season after the club is refusing to sell him for less than 700 million euro. Barcelona is officially stupid. This is a really bad decision for the long-term health of FC Barcelona. Incredibly bad and incredibly dumb and incredibly short-sighted, and it ain't going to work. It is not going to work. Yes, there are the unofficially done deals with Suarez to Juventus. That is contingent on a free transfer and Barcelona allowing that. Sure, why not? This is stupid by Barcelona. I got nothing else for it. It's so dumb. He doesn't want to be there. That's been made abundantly clear.
Yeah.
you're going to make him stay. He's going to play, and he's a professional, but is he going to be fully motivated? Probably not. He's going to sign with Manchester City after the season, and you're going to get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, like we said earlier, this is the next step where Messi is doing this to put more pressure on the team to accept a deal. Maybe. Lionel Messi's a good poker player. He's not going to hurt Barcelona in this. He's not going to take them to court. He's not going to fight it out that way. But he wants to go. That part's been abundantly clear. He doesn't want to stay there. And if they make him, they are ultimately going to be hurt by this because they're not going to get a transfer fee of anything. They're not going to get full effort out of him because he can't. He doesn't have that motivation. And you're going to have a huge salary this year. For what? I mean, for second place in Spain, maybe third, for a round of 16 in Champions League. Like, what are you going to get out of it? Really, what are you going to get?
No idea.
Nothing. You're going to get nothing. I have an idea. You're going to get zip. You might, if Real Madrid falls apart or just gets focused on Champions League or whatever, maybe you find a La Liga title. And that's a huge maybe with everything you've lost and haven't reloaded with, by the way. You have Pjanic coming in. Good player. That fix everything? No. You're not going to go make a major signing. Like, that's the thing that it comes back to for me. You're not going to get a major signing. Like, you're losing Suarez, so who plays up top? You are losing Vidal. You've lost Rakitic.
Mm-hmm.
You need to reload on the back line because Piqué can't play forever. You need to reload in the midfield because Busquets can't play forever. You're not adding anybody. You're forcing him to stay. It'd be different if you were right there to win the Champions League this year. Okay, I could at least understand it. You're throwing everything in to win Champions League. You're not winning Champions League. You're not winning Champions League. No. You're not winning La Liga.
No.
You're not winning anything.
Mm-mm.
And you're going to make him stay for nothing. For nothing. I want to see what happens next. I wonder if this is Messi's last attempt to force them to do the right thing. I mean, he's going to honor his contract.
Yes.
He's going to do it. Kevsey, the reason I say on Pjanic he's not nothing, he doesn't dramatically change them from what they had. He's a great player, but they need more than that. They have problems in the back, and now they sound like they're not going to have Luis Suarez, so where are some of those goals going to come from? Pjanic doesn't solve it. Pjanic, yeah, he replaces some of it. I mean, he's 30, right? So it's not like he's going to help you get a whole lot younger. You're not getting Lautaro Martinez. You know, it's just you're getting, Coutinho back into it. So I guess the front three will find some way to work between Messi, Griezmann, and Coutinho. We'll see how Ronald Koeman can handle that one, and what's behind it, if there's any balance. I think this is the self-destruction of Barcelona. This is lighting the fuse because you're not getting anything out of him staying this year. You're not winning anything this year. And then he's going to walk. And he's probably going to sign the deal with Manchester City the first day he can in January. So then you're going to have that hanging over your head the whole second half of the season.
Yep.
Incredibly short-sighted and dumb. Good job, Barcelona. Well done.
A couple of other things on Twitter as we wait for the Guillaume Balage tweet at the top of the hour. Bartimus Prime. CONCACAF announced yesterday it would have its first ever draw to determine the Gold Cup groups and preliminary round. 1, I thought they've had a draw before. Guess not. 2, I've been impressed with the level of transparency under Montaliani.
Yeah, I think he's trying to change the idea of CONCACAF and how non-transparent it's been. I thought they'd had a draw, too. I was right there with Bart. He has said, and this was on September 2nd on One Soccer in Canada, about the upcoming World Cup qualifying windows. It's likely not to go ahead in October. Round 1, where Canada is starting, could start as early as November, but more likely next March. That would take that bubble idea out and just push the scheduling back, which I don't know how you're going to make that work. We'll have to see what kind of rescheduling they could do. But it's not going to start in October. So you're not going to have competitive matches in CONCACAF in October and probably not in November. Probably going to start in March. And what that does for the qualifying schedule, I have no idea. No clue. But he's trying. And he's been as transparent as you can be in that situation, which everybody's figuring it out on the fly. It's definitely a step up from Webb and from Warner. There's just no question about that.
Joe Bost, he says, there will be fans in Orlando, so I'm thinking 2-0 Orlando. It pains me to even say that. Dom 2 matches in a row, losses to them.
You know what?
Sorry, damn 2 matches in a row, losses to them.
Yeah. You know what?
Like,
go ahead.
I thought it was an M, and I need to get my glasses, so it's damn 2 matches in a row, losses to them.
Good job. I think the fans will actually help Atlanta because it'll give the game some atmosphere. I felt like that's what was missing in the biggest way on Wednesday. A match that would have had a different feel to it with fans in the building because you would have got back and forth. You would have got some roars from the crowd when the team pushed forward. Things like that I think would have changed the way the game played out. Would have changed the feel anyway. I think it'll help Atlanta to have that because they'll have that feedback. When they do something well and the fans, get riled up or start booing or whatever, that'll give you a little bit of a rise. So I'm actually thinking that's going to help Atlanta as much as it helps Orlando.
Yep. Tafka and others in the timeline have linked back to a Grant Wall thought from overnight. And Grant Wall says, striking how much better LAFC's Diego Rossi has been in MLS than Atlanta's Ezequiel Barco. Better scouting at LAFC? ? Better coaching to improve the player? ? And then Matt Doyle says both, and then a lot of folks got fired up about that.
They're different players. I think, obviously, there's an issue with how the game is seen here by people who have big voices to see it. Goals aren't everything. They're not. Goals don't define how good of a player you are completely. Teise is tweeting in all caps right now. This is good times. We have the Super Football show on, which is one of the big talk shows, and there's lots of pointing and gesticulation. People are getting excited. So we'll have that here in just a second when that comes down. I'll try to make this fast. Goals don't define players. The argument about Rossi and Barco, Rossi's a goal scorer, Barco's not. Barco's a creator, Rossi's not nearly at the same level. Just like Pitti. Pitti's time in Atlanta is not defined by goals. It's not. Anybody who tries to, you're missing the point. Pitti Martinez is one of 5 players to be in the top 10 in shot-creating actions in Major League Soccer in the last 2 years since he arrived. One of 5 to be in the top 10 both times. He is creating shots for himself and others. Now, Ricky says we need a Rossi, and that's very valid. You need a goal scorer now. That's changed without Joseph. You need not just a creator. You need somebody to score. Different conversation. But to say that Rossi's automatically better than Barco, they're different players. They don't do the same things. You can play the same position and still not do the same things. That also needs to be understood. There are forwards who are very impactful who do not score a ton of goals, but create opportunities for others. Their movement creates opportunities for others. Primicia de TSASports.com. Lionel Messi se queda in Barcelona. And they are saying they have it first because they've had everything first, and he's staying in Barcelona, which we had kind of had leaked a little bit. Let's see if there's anything else on this real quick. But no, I get really frustrated with players only being defined by goals. Really, really frustrated. Even defined by just assists. Really, really frustrated. Ezequiel Barco has... I would not be surprised if Ezequiel Barco gets the same or maybe even a little bit more in a transfer fee than Diego Rossi does. And that's going to make people's heads explode because they don't understand it. There's just no other way around it. They just don't understand it. It's the same reason why people don't understand how you're able to sell Pity Martinez, how you had a club who came in and wanted to pay this kind of money and pay him the kind of money they're going to pay him. Didn't understand it because he didn't score a bunch of goals. He didn't have a bunch of assists. I got nothing. I got nothing. There's nothing I can do. He's not Joseph Martinez. He's not. He's never going to be. That's not what his game is. But do you notice how teams freak out when he's on the ball?
Mm-hmm.
They don't do that because of hype. They do that because he's a player. Ezequiel Barco is a player. Do you maybe need something a little different to make this team work? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this is the problem. And this is the problem with just a lot of sports commentary. It's not even a soccer thing. It's not even a U.S. soccer thing. Just because you might need something different now, or maybe just because you decide you needed something different before, doesn't mean the player that is leaving is a bad player. That argument is insanity to me. And to try to put that out there now makes no sense. He wasn't a bad player before. He wasn't a bad player here. He's not a bad player now. He's not going to be a bad player next year. But you can understand that you need something different. Uncle No Pockets is talking. He said, I understand the money was good. I'm upset the decision killed our season. It's a tough one for that because I don't know if you would have seen this money come at another point. I think you had to take it here. And I also think Pity probably wouldn't see the money that he's going to see at another point. This is a huge opportunity that is tied to a lot of things. And I don't know why nobody's talking about it. I have no idea. We've mentioned it multiple times. I've mentioned it everywhere I've been. Al Nassr's, one of their top players, Juliano from Brazil, is going to be sold. Looks like he's going to Turkey. They have to replace him. They have to replace him now. They've got games coming up in the Asian Champions League starting on the 15th, and they're playing the rest of the group stage for 2020 over like a week or two. And they're 2 games into a 6-game group stage. They need a star. They need a massive talent. That's why they threw so much money at Mesut Ozil. They found one. And they're going to pay him handsomely. I don't think he could say no. And in turn, I don't think the club could say no. Because, again, this and you know, Unc says these are moves you make in the offseason. I mean, this is the conversation with Barcelona. Do you want to keep a player? And in Messi's case, he's not going to go make more money at Manchester City. He'd be happier because he wants to leave what is a ruined project at the moment. Would you want to keep Pity? Would you want to tell him, no, you can't go make 6, 8, 10, whatever the number is in terms of salary? No, we can't afford for you to go do that right now. Do you think you're going to get anything good out of him by saying no to him and him staying here? Probably not. Yeah. I don't think this is a run-of-the-mill kind of move here for him. I don't. I think this is a potentially transformational deal. I don't think they're putting profit over success here, Uncle. I don't. They're not putting profit over it because they're going to reinvest it. I disagree with that. I don't think, and we can keep going back and forth, but we're on different pages, and that's cool. But I think this is a special case. I really do, and I think more than anything, it's a special case for Pity Martinez himself.
Yeah,
that's where my head is at with it. So this is the game. Sometimes you have to make these deals when they come up, and then you have to make the best of it because that's what happens next. How do you make the best of it? Saturday. How do you make the best of it next week in 2 games? How do you make the best of it going into a transfer market? That is a buyer's market. That's what you have to spend. That's what you have to make work. So that's going to be the challenge. Sometimes it comes unexpectedly, and you just have to make the best of it. And that's what I think happened here. So we'll see. Rest of the day and tomorrow, because it looks like Messi's going to speak here shortly, according to Super Football on Teise. We have the run-up coming up at 7. We will get deep into Atlanta-Orlando. If you have deeper questions into that match, send them to us. You can send them to us on Twitter. You can send them to us via email. You can join us at 7 o'clock and send them to us then. You want to get into tactics. You want to get into players to watch. You want to get into anything about Atlanta-Orlando. We will deep dive for an hour into that tonight at 7. We'll have the Power Hour tomorrow at 10. We'll get you caught up on #Messigate. We'll get you caught up on other news that happens today. Now, the New York Red Bulls are in the managerial carousel. We'll see who they end up with. We'll see who's going to be in charge for them this weekend. That's a question we don't have answered yet. We'll see where all of this goes. Silly season is the silliest of all time, but it's 2020. Are you surprised? No. It's madness.
Yes. Nathan Pugh is in. He says, attackers definitely are not defined only by goals. Look at Bobby Firmino. He plays the number 9 in a totally different way and is so integral and amazing at it, plus those beautiful teeth.
Attackers, and I'm glad that Nathan said it that way, attackers are not strictly strikers, number 9s, number 10s, left wingers, right wingers. Not anymore. Not in the game as the way it's played now. And they're not purely defined by goals, and they're not purely defined by assists. There are other things that factor into it. And Pity Martinez was good here. I think he was very good here. Were the expectations for more? Yeah, they were. I don't hold him accountable for that because I think he was very good. It didn't quite, it's the same thing I feel about Frank de Boer's time here. It didn't get to where it could have, not consistently enough. It was very, very good. You don't win 2 trophies by accident. You don't win 2 trophies in spite of the manager. It doesn't happen. You were very good. You were ultimately not the champion. And when you're a club with that ambition, that changes things. Now, this move, you have to make the best of it going forward with the resources you have, with the designated player spot, with a market where you can stretch that money really far. We shall see. The season will continue to twist and turn, and we'll be here to talk about it for you. But that's going to do it for now. Pay attention to Teise Sports on Twitter because they will have it first.
Yes.
They have everything first. They will have it first in all caps. I would die laughing if Messi comes to the mic and says, I'm leaving. I would die laughing at this. Please, Leo, entertain us one more time. But we'll get you caught up on all that tomorrow in the Power Hour. Tonight, the run-up, 7 o'clock. We'll see you then. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.